What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so before I get into this video, shout out to the brother Wizzy Wade for the $5 donation via the Cash App, and he has a question. He says, is LeBron James treating Luca how Norm Nixon treated Magic Johnson? That's a good question. For those of you who don't know, Norm Nixon was the point guard of the Los Angeles Lakers before the arrival of Magic Johnson in 1979. Now, there were some questions as to whether or not Magic Johnson could survive at the point guard position in the NBA because of his height, because of his youth, and the fact that he had never, ever played at that level. And we had never before seen a guy at that height try to protect the rock in an NBA full of great perimeter defenders. So there was even an attempt to get Magic to play it in the front court when he came to the NBA. That wasn't his game. So, they came up with the great idea to have a backcourt of Magic Johnson and Norm Nixon, since Norm was the established point guard. Magic was playing at shooting guard for the first, 5 years of his career, I think. Something like that. The first 5 years of his career. That's partially why Magic Johnson's assists were lower the first several years of his career. And that's also why he didn't have more assist titles. And, why he didn't have more assists than he already did and more triple doubles. Because if he came in at the point, man, he probably would have had more around 160 triple doubles instead of 138. And he probably would have had maybe, I would say, maybe 1,500 more assists than he wound up having in his career. Just a guess off the top of my head. But anyway, it was in 1984 when Norm Nixon was traded from the Los Angeles Lakers to the Clippers. Magic officially became the point guard for the Lakers, and that was it. Now, Norm did have some good seasons with the Clippers, but injuries, I think, started affecting him by 86, 87, and I think he was out the league by like 89, 90 or something like that. Now, if you watched that HBO series Wedding Time that came out a couple of years ago, it touched on it a little bit with Magic and Norm Nixon, but I think they kind of over-dramatized some of the, tension between the two. In reality, they were friends. But according to Michael Cooper and some other Lakers, there was definitely some tension there. And it was more from Norm Nixon. And Norm was they were friends, but he was jealous of Magic. He was jealous of, first of all, he was jealous of Magic's money. I think Magic, if I'm not mistaken, was the first or second player to have $1 million contract. I think he was second behind Moses Malone. So, he making money. Now, Norm was the guy that was the man on the Lakers before Magic got there. And he was the guy getting I was just being honest, he was the guy getting all the pussy. Okay? Norm was like, wore the best clothes, the finest cars. He was like the man. Magic came there, even though Magic wasn't as conventional, it wasn't like Magic was an ugly guy, but Magic came there and he was getting even more ass. You know what I'm saying? And he was kind of, Norm wasn't used to that. So you take that, plus the fact that he had the star power, was getting all the attention. Norm kind of had some issues with some of the shit, but it never showed to the point where he was confronting Magic about it, because back in them days, that would have been some big shit to do. You know what I'm saying? So it manifested itself more into him wanting to compete with Magic and other shit. You know what I'm saying? Like shooting contests or one-on-one. You know what I'm saying? Or just any other shit. Just competing with him in general. And that was pretty much it. The main reason why Norm Nixon was traded was because of his relationship or lack thereof, relationship with Jerry West. Before Magic got there, a couple years before Magic got there, Jerry West was the head coach of the Lakers. Matter of fact, right before Magic got there, Jerry West was the head coach of the Lakers, and he used to be real hard on Norm Nixon. Norm didn't like that. And when Jerry West became the general manager, he was still like Norm was on Jerry West's radar. One of the things that happened as far as the deterioration of Norm Nixon's relationship with the Lakers was not his play, because he played well. Playing with Magic, like I said, he was still putting up. I can't think of numbers off the top of my head, but I want to say he was averaging like with Magic like what was it, like 16 points, maybe like 7 assists or something like that. He was putting up good numbers, great numbers actually. The problem was Jerry West got into his head that Norm Nixon was using drugs, right? And we got to remember at that point in time, there was a big drug problem in the NBA, all right? It was starting then, you know, and the Lakers didn't want any part of that. Now, the reality, Norm Nixon did not use drugs, but he did hang with some guys and associate with some guys who were in that. And just with that, the NBA and the Lakers especially didn't want any of their players with that type of situation and image. And, you know, the Lakers organization and Jerry West, also, I'm pretty sure if Jerry West, if they were doing it, that Jerry West knew about it, they had people following Norm Nixon to see what he was up to. And they were reporting back that they thought that he was involved in drug dealing, which he wasn't. When he found out about it, Norm Nixon was so pissed off that he said that, you know what, just trade me. He felt like that was such a violation of his privacy. He told him to trade him, which he later took back, but they used that as just the excuse and the mechanism to trade him, and that's when they traded his ass. Okay? And then Norm went to the Clippers. He had some good seasons. Matter of fact, he was an all-star one of those years. It might have been his first year there, I think, 84, 85. I think he averaged like 17 and 9 or something like that. But injuries started catching up to him. And by the late 80s, he was kind of hurt often. And then he was out the league by like 89. So in hindsight, it was probably the right move for him to make because he would have started aging anyway. And also another thing that the Lakers look for is in the backcourt, considering that shooting was starting to become more important in that league as the three-point shot was introduced in 79-80, and you had some of the other teams that had some good shooters for that era. They needed a guy that could shoot the ball from outside and just shoot from the mid-range a little bit better. Needed someone a little bit bigger than Norm, because Norm was like 6'2" or something. And they needed a guy that could play defense. And that's where they went and got, I think, in the 83 or 84 draft. I can't misremember what year it was. But ultimately, we know they got Byron Scott, who was essentially Norm Nixon's replacement, right? So everything worked out. Even though there were some similarities, it's not totally similar because LeBron James and Luca are not friends. LeBron James is 40 years old. Norm was still close to his best years when he left and was in his prime when Magic arrived. So it's not exactly the same. You know what I'm saying? If anything, LeBron James if he wasn't such an egotistical asshole, he would embrace this situation playing with Luca. He would embrace this, be a mentor for once. But it's all about him. He's an insufferable, selfish asshole. And the only thing that's similar is that there's tension there. We got to wait for the book to come out, but there's obviously tension there. Because LeBron did not know. I was wrong about this. I'm convinced now LeBron did not know Luka was going to be traded to their franchise. And LeBron still is pissed off about that because he feel like he's supposed to know every fucking thing. You know? But don't that answers your question, you know what I'm saying? There's some similarities, but Norm Nixon and Magic Johnson ultimately did work together, and they won 2 championships in 1980 and 82. LeBron James and Luca are not going to work with each other. The games are too similar. Obviously, they need to move on from LeBron James, and that's what they're doing. And from what I understand, they look at LeBron as an expiring contract. And what I'm starting to think is going to happen, I don't think LeBron's going to be traded this offseason. I don't think that's going to happen. What I think this son of a bitch going to do is, I think during the regular season, he's going to start, if things don't go right, if things don't go according to plan and the Lakers are not winning at the level that he thinks they should be winning, as if the team still revolves around him, then I think he's going to start sulking. I think he's going to start doing certain things to push the Lakers to ultimately either trade him or buy him out or some shit like that. And then they're going to try to get some cheap ring somewhere. That scenario seems more plausible than him getting traded during the offseason to me. But anyway, tell me what you guys think about this.